Hey guys, welcome to episode number 377. Today is Wednesday, so it's DIY Wednesday, and I thought I'd shut my pumps off and take my air stones out for just a second to show you the solution that I came up with to my K1 media problem. Now, if you watched the past episode, you'll know that my K1 media all escaped from this barrel and tragically ended up on the surface of my 300-gallon stock tank. It was a big mess to clean up. You can still see there's a few pieces floating around a couple weeks later, and that's because I implemented a Band-Aid solution, which was essentially to take a 2-inch pipe, drill a bunch of holes in it, and then throw a piece of screen material over that to try to create some semblance of a barrier to keep that K1 away from my overflow tube, which is right there. So what I wanted to talk about today was two products and two DIY solutions that I've come up with, which sort of help in these overflow pre-filter situations. So the first one I'll talk about is the one that I built for this barrel. The second one I'll talk about are the ones that I have previously shown for my 40-gallon breeder tanks. So Gemco is a great place when you're looking for little odds and ends for your fish room. So if you haven't heard of Gemco, go check them out. This happens to be a piece of plastic screening material. It's fairly rigid. I can sort of squish it a little bit, but it holds its shape pretty well. And it looks like the seam is sort of like heat welded together there. And this just happens to slip nicely over a 2-inch piece of PVC pipe. So you'll see I have a small piece of 2-inch PVC pipe there. I have drilled a couple holes in the PVC pipe, and I used a zip tie to sort of zip tie that screen in place. And essentially what I've done, and I've got a little piece of mesh on the bottom, essentially what I've done is I've created a very large surface area of screen material which allows all of the water to get into that space, but it doesn't allow the K1 to sort of pass through. And that allows this to basically never get plugged up and allow water to freely flow through this K1 chamber back into the turtle tank. And I do have another small piece on top. This is in the event that this completely plugs up, which is honestly not even possible. This is an emergency overflow. I always design things, I over-engineer things so that the worst case scenario can never happen. So in this case, the worst case scenario is, let's say something large and plasticky, like something like this, or like a plastic bag or something, was to sort of flop against the side of this material and completely cut off all of the flow down below. What would happen is the water level would rise in here, and eventually it would rise over the top of this barrel, and we'd have a water incident. So to prevent that flood, I have this top completely open, and I've got this additional piece of screen material so that in an emergency, this acts as the overflow and we don't get into any trouble with water going on the floor. I would rather have all of this media in the top of this tank again than to just have this plug up. So that's the way that this is designed. It's been operating for about a week now, and it's doing awesome. And the way that I can tell it's doing awesome is because when the water is pumping in this system, the water level here where this K1 micro is only halfway up this tube. And with previous versions of this, the water level was actually up over the top of this. And so that means that the flow was restricted down below, and there were some issues. And so this has been working amazing. So if you haven't checked out Gemco, go check them out. They've got this screen material. This is the 2-inch basically overflow pre-filter screen material that they have. Definitely an awesome product. The only thing that's a little annoying is the fact that you do have to sort of drill those holes and run your zip ties to sort of connect those to the pipe, because it's a little loose on the pipe, but with one little zip tie that's not going anywhere. It's super solid, so thumbs up for that. Alright, the other version of this is slightly smaller, and it's something that I've used for the past year plus in all of my 40-gallon aquariums. You can see one back there in the corner. I've got the 1-inch overflow for the aquarium there, and that's allowing water to exit the 40-gallon breeder into the central sump system. And this is what that pre-filter overflow tube looks like. Now, I have a sponge on this. This is an open cell sponge, and I have that on there so that small fry and small shrimp and everything else don't get out of the tank. They don't get flushed down into the central sump system. So they are completely protected, and the water can pass through the overflow, but the fish and the fry definitely cannot. And if we were to bust this sponge off, essentially what you would see is this right here. So this is another Gemco product, very similar to the first one you saw. This one is actually a little bit sturdier, and I like it quite a bit better because it actually fits into your PVC fittings. So this is a 1-inch PVC fitting, and it fits right into that snugly, so that if I sort of shake it, it's not going to come apart. So it sticks together just as if it was a piece of PVC pipe, but it's got all of these screen holes in it so your water can pass right through. And then again, emergency overflow on the top. I've got an emergency overflow. So in an emergency, I would rather have my small fry flushed into my central sump system. Luckily that doesn't happen often or at all, but I would rather have that happen than have water flowing onto my floor and again causing a water event. So those are two different ways that I've created pre-filter screens for my overflows. Hope that helped, and I'll see you guys later.